What they want to implement, in my perception, after laborious amount of research, is technocracy. So you can have something that takes form as a world government, but eventually what they are implementing through 5G, and 5G is the medium for that, they want to implement technocracy, which means technological control. And it's going to be run by AI, by artificial intelligence, for which 5G is the medium for, because in order to run AI and to run a system of control like the system that's being implemented in China, the social crediting system, you need the bandwidth in order to decode and transfer and exchange all the informations that they're gathering from you, from your smartphone, all the information they take from you to judge you and delete social credit points or give you social credit points. And that's why what they're ultimately aiming for is control under a system of governance called technocracy, that is going to be run by AI.
So is AI, or artificial intelligence, is that the real agenda behind 5G? Is that what they want to connect us with?
Absolutely. 100%.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they want to do that to their own people? I mean, we're talking about high factions of the government, secret government.
Absolutely, yeah. It's this is the point where you enter the twilight zone, because which human being, we are human beings, I don't want to exercise control over you, for example, or over anyone else. Who would want to implement something like that? Who would want a control structure of controlling absolutely everything, of sending 53,000 satellites into space, which will demonstrably damage the Schumann resonance of the planet, which every single life form on this planet depends on, including humans? Now, who would do that?
Who would do that?
This agenda is driving towards AI and the control of AI. There won't be a government to phone up anymore, which can already be observed in China. When you are on the blacklist, for example, when you're not able to buy a ticket for your flight or a ticket for the train, when you're on the blacklist in China, which millions are already, we're talking this is statistics from 2018, then you've got nowhere to hold anyone accountable to that, or to phone someone up at the government and have a discussion with someone. No, it is the algorithm that is deciding that. And who would do that? In my research, what we have on this planet is a situation where, and it's becoming clearer and clearer day by day, is that we are in the middle of an invasion of a force that wants total control over this planet and total control over human beings. And it is this force that I have studied in detail. There is a lot of sources of history where you can study this force, and it relates to what you've already mentioned, to the Illuminati bloodline, because you have to be in a certain bloodline in order to have the opportunity of rulership. Like the Queen of England is in a certain position that she is in because of her bloodline, and these things interrelate with each other.
What is this force?
Well, there are a lot of names for this force. It is a negative force. It is a very destructive force. And it has been called, there's names for this force all across the world. All societies of humanity have been talking about this force. And it is now coming more and more into crystal clarity that the situation we find ourselves in is not a problem that humans create, but it is an invasion.
From what?
From a force that was called the Flyers in Mexico, for example, or the Jinn in the Islamic world, and what the Gnostics, which is a field of research that I go deep into, called the Archons. And it is a force that we don't see for the reason because the only thing we can see is what reflects visible light. So there is a spectrum of visible light, which is a fraction, tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum, which is all we can see. And what we see in this world is animals, human beings, and trees and whatever. But this force you cannot see because they are operating outside of this spectrum.
So this force, the archons, the jinn, is also what the Christians call demons. Mm-hmm. It's not a physical force. It's not something that you would even be able to see if you could see more than what we are able to perceive through the 3 dimensions here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It is, well, there is a problem with physicality because what we call physical is what we can see, which, for example, as I can see this color or any color, is because this object is reflecting light. It's everything in this reality is a frequency. And these beings we cannot see because their frequency is outside of the range of visible light, which we can see. And but they can take form as a human being. They can look the same, but they're not the same from their psychology, from the way they are acting.
Is that psychopaths, you mean?
There's levels of psychopathy. And from their characteristic traits, yes, they are psychopaths. Now there's levels, and there are full-blown psychopaths that act like that in the world also, which in my research are 100% possessed from the unseen by what we would call a demon. And the demon is working through them. And someone who would we see as a human being. But what is driving the behaviors of that human being is something we cannot see. And there's other levels of it which we don't recognize so much.
And David Icke says that they can take form, these archons, demons, as reptilians as well. And he says that he's saying that they might be working with factions of our government, the secret government.
Exactly. I touch upon these things because I don't care what people think about me. You know, there is this aspect that people make fun of this. Oh, he's talking about the reptiles and don't mention the reptiles. Well, I bloody better mention it because I'm about to get annihilated by an invading force, okay? And so I talk about this. From its base form, these archons and the notion of archons we get from the very beginning, where this notion was presented, was from John Lash, who wrote the book Not in His Image from 2006. And he invoked this notion, and then it started to get more widespread. And these archontic beings, they manipulate human society from the unseen. Now, if you want to make a difference in this world, and that's the reason why I talk about this, because I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to understand what is really going on in this world. And if you really want to know what is going on in the world, you will encounter this manipulative force that is, under all terms, controlling this society from the unseen, and that is the reason why they are not detected as such. But there are people like me, for example, or people like David Icke, who go into these subjects, share these subjects, because we're not tied to any special interest. No one is paying me to do this job that I'm doing. And when you suss the weakness of this force, then you can truly make a difference. And that is what I'm trying to do.
Why do you think this force is operating on this three-dimensional plane? Why do you think it's allowed to be here, if true, these archons, demons?
Well, that is a very interesting question, and it relates to the origin of this force. And this gets a bit mythological, but according to the Gnostics, which in the words of John Lamb Lash, who wrote the book Not in His Image, and he was the first author of the Nag Hammadi texts to study and analyze the Nag Hammadi library that were found in 1945 in Egypt, in Nag Hammadi. And he was born in the same week that the Nag Hammadi scrolls were found. And he was the first one to study them without a theological background. Because he has a background of, similar to Joseph Campbell, of being a comparative mythologist, studying mythologies from all across the world. And in these texts, and it's very interesting because we hardly have any scriptures of a people, a group of people that called them, that were called Gnostics. They themselves didn't call themselves Gnostics. They called themselves the Telestai, which basically translated means those who are aimed. They were a very special group of people who studied things from a holistic perspective to really get a grip on reality, on what's going on. And what's going on is the question I ask every day, because I get new answers and I get deeper answers and deeper understandings. That is Gnosticism. As John Lash says, Gnosticism is not an alternative religion. You can make it a religion when you make it dogmatic. I don't do that. Gnosticism is not an alternative religion. It is an alternative to all religions. And in these texts from the Gnostics, and they were eradicated from history by the Roman Catholic Church, as we can see, for example, in the Battle of Montségur from 1266, where the Cathars, who were Gnostics, were slaughtered to death. The same as in the ancient world, it was the people that ran the Library of Alexandria who were Gnostics, like Hypatia, who was a genius woman studying different fields of science. That is a Gnostic way of doing things. And in the Nag Hammadi scrolls, which were found, that are dated to 400 AD, and in this Nag Hammadi library, 1/5 of the text was about a negative, demonic force, which was called the Archons, that are manipulating human society. And they explained the workings of the Archons and how they manipulate us. And it relates directly to mind control, and mind control relates directly to 5G, because 5G offers the opportunity for the first time to create a mind control grid, which is called the smart grid, in other terms called the cloud. And you can quote Ray Kurzweil, for example, coming back now from the Gnostics to this age here, because they're all interrelated, but they don't want you to access your right brain and connect the dots on things so you get a clearer picture of what's going on here. Ray Kurzweil, when you read his book, and he was the former chief executive of Google and in the technology department also, a very, very important man for Google, and Google is not anyone. It dictates what you read, and it's manipulating the algorithms so you don't read what they don't want you to read. And he was also, interestingly enough, the co-founder of the Singularity University of Silicon Valley. And in his book, he openly states that he wants to connect the human mind with artificial intelligence. He talks about that our thinking will be a mixture between biological and non-biological thinking. And he says that's the future of humanity because we transcend our limitation. Now, when he wants to do that, I'm not going to stop him. But I've got a real problem when he's trying to decide the future of humanity, my future, what I can decide for myself. I've got a big problem with, and I can quote also the same ideology, which is transhumanism, from Elon Musk.
Just to stay on the topic of Kurzweil,
Okay.
What do you think he knows that the rest of the population is unaware of?
Well, he's just following orders from his masters,
Who are they?
the Archons.
Yeah, but he doesn't speak directly to the Archons, I would assume.
Well, he probably is 100% controlled by them, and he doesn't even know a difference between an Archon and a human.
So is he part of an Illuminati network, you mean? Do you think that?
Yes, there is a net.
Attending secret society meetings.
Well, I don't know about that. I only analyze from the point of his ideology, which is transhumanism, which for me is a major concept to grasp. They want to delete and eliminate the humanity that we are and change it for something that is a synthesis. And Elon Musk talks about this too, who is one of the people that are sending most of the satellites up, which is a genocidal agenda on the planet. And as I say, it's an invasion of our planet and humanity. And Elon Musk talks about the same thing. He has created the company Neuralink to connect, again, the human brain with artificial intelligence. And this is the thing we need to focus on. We don't need to focus on if there are sects that we call an Illuminati that are having satanic rituals, which they are, and that has been established by whistleblowers that have been at these ceremonies. But I choose to focus on the real things that are driving this agenda. It is AI, it is the takeover of our minds, it is the takeover of our humanity, of our nature, of everything we love, and this is the ideology of transhumanism. And it is also directly linked to the ideology of what you call the Illuminati and what I call the kakistocracy of Satanism. Because that's what these people are.
It is not what I call it. It's what it is called by most researchers. But you choose to also talk a lot about the Archons. And a lot of people who are focusing on the topic of 5G and artificial intelligence, when they hear all of that, they must try and connect all of that as well to the Archons, and below that, Illuminati, you call it?
I would call it a negative force, and I would give it the name of an archontic force.
Mm-hmm. Behind a New World Order agenda?
Absolutely.
Most people who are talking about the New World Order agenda are talking about this one world government, but it goes beyond that then.
Absolutely, it goes beyond that. We really have to open our minds, and that's why I'm sharing what I'm sharing, because I want to get this information out, and people, again, make of it what you will. You know, I'm not here to tell you what is reality and what's going on. I'm trying to find out myself, and we only get along further when we share our insights. Stop fighting, tell he's a shill or he's a shill and he's crazy. That doesn't bring us anything. When you're facing an annihilation event, we need to bring everything to the table, start communicating again instead of discussing and dissing each other. And that's what I bring forward. And I very much suggest that people look into the aspect of the Archons, because is it artificial intelligence or is it archontic intelligence? And I would say, because I've studied mathematics, we have the same here.
So the Archon energy or frequency that they operate on could be artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Look at certain people in politics or in the financial sector. Look at their behavior. Look at it closer. It is completely robotic, and it is absent of any creativity or any life. And that is the aspect, what these Archons most fear. It is the people that let everything go and have the spirit of a maverick in them, because they don't care what other people think about them, they just do.
But if there is, let's say, a creator force, what people call God or source of force there, why would that creator force allow something like the Archons or reptilians, if you go into alien territory really, why would they allow those beings to operate on this earthly realm or beyond that?
That is a very good question, and I go back to the mythology that I alluded to before. Now, everything as it is, it just is. So we have a world that, goodness me, is in chaos. Refugee crises caused by illegal wars and the policies of the World Bank and IMF. And it's wreaking havoc on the Western world, and it's also being weaponized, the refugee crisis. I have nothing against any foreigners, I'm not racist, but this is an agenda. And now we have the rollout of 5G. There's so many things I could mention, I'll just stick with 5G for the moment. Why would that happen? Now, we live in a world of chaos. What's going on here? Why would a creator force, which I would call source, because I don't give a picture to it, it's just source. Everything is an emanation of source. Now, in the Gnostic intel, okay, and this is just the way I view at the situation, I see myself as an agent for the planet. That's what I am. Because I love nature. It's doing beautiful things, giving us crops with the sun together. These are the forces I serve, because they are real and they are natural. Now, in Gnostic intel, in the Gnostic narrative, the mother goddess Sophia incarnated as the earth. She was a goddess that was, as they described it, in a heavenly realm outside of this reality where the gods reside, shall we say. And this realm was called the Pleroma. And she fell from that Pleroma. I don't want to go into too many details right now, but she fell from that Pleroma, and this fall, which also relates to the fallen angel narrative, and she fell from the Pleroma and incarnated into the body of the earth. Now, I'm talking in mythological terms. Whatever one makes of it, I highly suggest to read the book from John Lamb Lash for more details. Now, she incarnated in the earth, and her fall from the heavenly realm created a distorted energy field, because she had fell, and the horror and the something of a thought form, a distorted thought form, created a distorted energy field, which created a distorted perception, which can be summarized as an error. Somebody had cocked up, something happened. And this error, because everything in our reality is energetically based, this error and this distorted energy then manifested into what we now call archons, which can manifest in form as a reptilian entity or as a grey alien entity, but from its base form, like everything, it is a distorted energy. It is a distorted perception. The same as the behavior of a psychopath is originating from a distorted perception. And this is the terms or the view that the Gnostics give on this situation. And
a parasite feeding on human beings' anger,
Exactly.
anguish, fear, and hatred.
Because they don't have the creative capacity as we humans do. They don't have the connection to the source or the connection to the earth naturally as we humans do.
But how could this even happen if there is a source which is, well, complete and good,
Yeah.
a positive energy?
Well, I just gave an explanation as to the energetics of what possibly happened. Again, I say I don't know what really happened. It's concepts I'm dealing
But
with.
this could be symbolic, right?
It could be symbolic, yeah, but maybe let's look at it from a different angle. Maybe, now I'll ask you this question. How does the source experience itself? If everything is from one energy source and we're all one, as is often said, how does the source experience itself? Through reflection. It's the only way a source can experience itself is through reflection, through mirror reflection.
Point of view.
Point of view, exactly. And maybe, from another angle, maybe this game of good and bad is an experience for us to experience and to eventually transcend it. Now, from this perception, we live in the third dimension, and which is controlled by this negative force at this point, as I'm saying, and they keep us trapped in this realm that we're occupying through the manipulation of our perception, and they keep us, so to say, in the box, and they trap us in the matrix which they control.